Well, good Anya. Good morning, Mary and Alex. It's been a while since we've had you online. Wonderful to have you here today. As always, the blessings are pouring in. And if you were not here, the blessings are still pouring in. Wherever you go, whatever you do, whatever you say, whatever is the situation that we are in life, there is only one thing to remember is that we are in the holy presence, that we are in the divine presence at all times, in every situation, in every thought we have, even though they may not be that great of a thought, especially when we're looking at the three gunas. We are still on the three gunas in this chapter 18. I think that this Gita commentary by Yogananda ends with really a big bang of just getting an understanding of these three qualities, the gunas, that which ties us to, almost a situation where we do feel very, active and activated by, these energies. And so we're gonna look at these verses that we've been doing. We're on verse 25 in this chapter 18, page 1038. We're just going back and forth with the three gunas and their influences that they have on us. And we're going to start with the tamas, the ruffians. Yogananda calls it the ruffians. Yeah, the tamas energy, and then we're going to skip over to the exact opposite. Some good news. It's not that the tamas isn't good news. It's just that it's depressing. It's depressing, and it's not really who we are. It's the opposite of what we really are. So it makes things a little difficult to maneuver in life. So, but anyway, we're going to jump over to some sattvic, I think, towards the end after we read about the tamas and the ruffians for a bit. How does that sound, my dears? And yeah, so just be in this blessing. Be in this blessing. I mean, it's one thing to have a spiritual life. It's another thing to be, tuned into such a master as Yogananda and that lineage, as all of you know, or you wouldn't be here. And so the blessings are always with us. That's what I was saying in the beginning. The blessings are always with us. So thank you for being here and supporting this little Gita session that we're going to have. Letting what comes in, let it go out, and then repeat. Let it come in, and then let it just resonate or not with you, and then let it go out. So that's how we operate here on I don't know how many years it's been. Every Tuesday morning, 7 a.m. Pacific time, we have been right here, sitting right here, talking about the things that we're talking about. All right. So, page 1038, my dears, if you have the book open, verse 25, the quote from Krishna says this: tamasic action. Tamasic action. Hello, Narayan. I don't know if I said hello. Lisa and Jim, hello. Thank you for coming on. It's our breakfast of champions this morning. So, tamasic action, as the quote goes on the top of page 1038, is that which is instituted, it's instituted through delusion. So there's an energy in life that is just all about the Maya, about the delusion, right? And it's like in full bloom, full force in the tamasic action is that which is instituted through delusion. And what makes it interesting is that these next words, Krishna says, without measuring one's ability. So we're going to institute some delusion, but we're not sure about what our real nature is. So it's a wild Mr. Toad's wild ride, it seems, right? So Tamasic action is that which is instituted through delusion without measuring one's ability. It's nice to have a little grip, right? It's nice to have a little grip on your life and a little understanding to say the least about what you're feeling, what your motive is, because God watches the heart 100%. So where your heart is, there you are in the influence or under the influence of one of the gunas. Just like that, bang, wherever your heart is, there is that guna that resonating with that wherever your heart is. All right, does that make sense? So it's an action, it's an instituted action of delusion without measuring one's ability and disregarding the consequences. Yeah, and disregarding the consequences, not even caring about the consequences, not even wanting to hear about the consequences. It's this knee jerk reaction the whole time. Yeah, the whole time. It's just a knee jerk reaction, I could say. Disregarding the consequences, loss to oneself of health, wealth, and influence, and harm to others. So there's no really, if we were to look at right and wrong and good and bad, there's not much good in it if we look at it that way. But I'm pretty sure there's a lot of learning to be had if we're in that force under the influence of, right, of that guna. There's going to be some learnings, I would suspect. At some point along the line, I think that's why we're all on the line right now, on the Gita stream right now, because that wisdom, that Yogananda's words, what he says about all this is just heartwarming. It's just it's spirit sparking. It's heartwarming and spirit sparking to hear Yogananda's or even consider holding one of his Bhagavad Gitas or being here now, right? Yeah. So this is Yogananda's commentary on what we just read. To the degree, he says, that tamas, which is a darkening quality, affects the knowledge of man and woman. To the degree, all right? It's going to be different for everybody. To the degree that tamas, the darkening quality, affects the knowledge of man and woman, his actions accordingly will confirm his deluded state. He or she behaves with selfish, instead of that beautiful saying Yogananda says in his early writings, in his early teachings, that it's okay to be sacredly selfish, but these next words are the opposite. So that person that to a degree is under this darkening quality affects the knowledge of, of where he is at in his actions accordingly will confirm where he is in the deluded state. He behaves, she behaves with selfish short-sightedness, devoid of reason or sound reason and judgment, and the ability to anticipate the consequences of her actions. Yeah, or his actions. So this is where Yogananda uses this word ruffians. And I think if any of us, hadn't or read his teachings at all, even in this Gita study, it's just a word that I have never heard before in his teachings, except right here, right now. The ruffians. He said the rule among ruffians. So if you're under the influence, my dears, of this tamas guna, you might have this saying that's going on in your unconscious. So the rule among ruffians is hit first and reason afterward. I don't know. Sometimes we just get compelled. Sometimes it's just the karma or whatever the words you want to use is just compelling us, that just because the unconscious is still so alive in many souls that you don't even you don't even have the ability to reason or to step back a little bit and just see and just kind of go, wait, there could be a consequence here in this action that I'm about to perform. So the rule among ruffians is hit first and reason after. This practice can lead to extremely serious consequences. Yeah, extremely serious consequences. That thoughtless hard blow may end as another man's murder, and the result of that may well be death sentence for the assailant. Persons, Yogananda goes on to say in his commentary, persons who act thoughtlessly under the influence of violent or mindless emotions, heedless of the potential consequences of their actions, not only become instrumental in hurting others, but also vitiate their own vitality. Vitiate, he uses that word. Probably it means something like diminish or drain, but also vitiates their own vitality and often suffers loss of prestige or prosperity as well. They entangle themselves in complex difficulties by instituting actions without first determining the rightness of their intentions. God watches the heart. God is watching your heart. That's probably one of the most powerfully uh, influential, talk about under the influence of something that is really heartwarming and spirit sparking, is this idea of just keeping an eye on that heart. What is my motive? Why am I doing it this way? Why am I even thinking this way? It needs less unconsciousness and more consciousness to get through that little snag in the road. All right, that we can have the wherewithal to even question something, and look at it from a perspective that is maybe a higher a higher guna, which is what we're going to be looking at very shortly now, my dears. Just to give you the contrast between tamas and the sattvic. So, persons who act thoughtlessly under the influence of violent or mindless emotions, heedless of the potential consequences of their actions, not only become instrumental in hurting others, but also vitiate their own vitality and often suffer loss of prestige or prosperity as well. They entangle themselves in complex difficulties by instituting actions without first determining the rightness of their intention. So it's just a good review this morning in this tamas energy that we're in right now. To just be aware. Be aware. What is the motive? Why am I thinking a certain way? Why am I even considering this action? Or I might be in action. Why? Why? And that can turn into a real positive, my dears, in that we start realizing that, my gosh, Lord, I really need some help. I need to check myself in to your presence. I need to I need to completely surrender, who I think I am and what I am thinking about and so on and so forth. I need you. I need you, Lord. That could turn this into a complete, splurge. Splurge. Good morning, Vinny. In being aware and really knowing what's in that heart of ours, right? What is the real motive behind this thought or this action or this, whatever I'm considering? What is the motive? So this tamas can teach us a lot around that. Yeah. So in the tamas energies, we get entangled in complex difficulties by instituting actions without first determining or not giving it any thought at all, without determining the rightness of those intentions and estimating their power and ability to perform those actions successfully. All right. So there's not much awareness. There's not much consciousness, we could say, maybe more. This guna completely kind of really drops into that unconscious stuff that we have going on, right? No thinking, just reacting, knee-jerk reaction, we could say. So Yogananda finishes his commentary here on verse 25, all about the tamas. He says, if a person of poor ability takes all of his own money, if a person of poor ability or lack of the awareness about anything, a person of poor ability takes all of his own money and a large sum borrowed from friends who can ill afford such a risk, exciting them with the boundless hope of gaining great dividends, and starts a sure to fail unwill, unwieldy, unwieldy business, unwieldy business. That means probably out of control business. He gets all these people excited about this boundless hope of gaining great dividends on a sure to fail, unwieldy business. He performs such an action without regard to its inevitable results: loss of fortune and prestige to himself, and injury to others. And such irrational action producing all around evil is, you could guess, tamasic. And then from that, we get to learn about in this guna, tamasic guna, and about inertia. Yogananda finishes his commentary on this verse 25, all about tamas. He talks about inertia is the quiddity of the tamas quality. Boy, he comes up with words you wonder how the heck. The quiddity of the tamasic quality. Inertia is the quiddity of the tamasic quality. Therefore, tamasic action always pursues the path of least resistance to avoid the effort required. So there's like zilcho, we could say, effort about anything that's going to lift your consciousness out of the gloom and doom, but you don't know it, of the tamas energy, the inevitable loss of fortune and prestige to oneself and injury to others. Any such irrational action producing all around evil is tamasic. Therefore, tamasic action also pursues the path of least resistance, my dears, to avoid the effort required in the practice of self-control. That's big, right? Because I think self-control is, what did Yogananda say in his teachings once? Had to look that one up. Tell us what it means, Vinny. Yeah, I had to look that one up. I know. You could look at quiddity too. Quiddity. You can look that one up too. If you maybe that is the one you're looking up. But yeah, you can kind of just feel into some of these words and make a good, a good aware stab at it. You might get close to it, if not right on the bell. All right. But anyways, this is all to avoid the practice of self-control. And Yogananda said once in his writings, he said, we are here to control ourselves. We are on this planet to control ourselves. There's no question, nothing that we don't have to debate this, that we are here to control ourselves. We are here. Another good word to put there is to be super aware, super awake, right? You know, just super in the game of maybe the game, so we can avoid the shame of this idea of surrendering it all into God's care and to God's help, that we really get into this shraddha, or this heart's natural devotion, and this ability to completely surrender, knowing that it is impossible, basically, to rid ourselves of this maya, of this delusion, and the influence, to live under the influence of these gunas. That except, of course, the sattvic one is the goal, and we're going to go to that next, my dears. But if nothing else, we learn in that we need to be in more control. We need to be self-aware of everything. This is not a planet to be goofing around in, as you all can gather at this point. Inertia is the quiddity of the tamasic quality. Therefore, tamasic action always pursues the path of least resistance to avoid the effort required in the practice of self-control, the exercise of discrimination, and engagement in divinely ordained duties. The tamasic person will do anything to avoid those duties that we have, and quite frankly, the honor that we have to be in a earth suit, to be in a human situation in this land of the three gunas, with such a guru, right? How did we gain such good karma? To be under the influence, quite frankly, of the divine teachers, my dears, right? We sometimes forget how powerful and how accessible they are. And right here, right now, right? Boy, if anyone understands the whole situation, it's them. And so if we give our attention to them, we pick up all that beautiful vibration, all that beautiful lift of awareness, and so on and so forth, which is coming right up, my dears, as we go to verse 26. And we go the other way now. We go into the Sattvic, verse 26, page 1039. Krishna says, that agent who is without egotism. So here's the opposite of what we just were talking about. That agent who is without egotism or attachment, untouched by fulfillment or unfulfillment, endowed with courage and zeal, is called sattvic. Yesterday, the Sacred Soul meditation was about that version of ourselves that lives so deep beneath the surface of all the shenanigans of the gunas. That's just so deep, and it just gave me the incentive yesterday to feel completely free from all of the shenanigans on this planet. Do you sometimes feel like you just need a break from being human, my dears? To take a break from life and just to go into that mystery, go into your intuitive imagination and feel what it's like to be just in God, in the truth, in the peace, in the higher consciousness, and so on and so forth. Yeah. And just that was a kind of the theme of yesterday, to discover the deep you, that is that which is beyond all conception, my dears. Imagine that all of this show, all of this upset, all of this distraction, and so on, that seems just so relevant, that seems so real, that catches us off guard most of the time, right? And still pulling out from the subconscious, we could say, or unconscious, some things that need to be addressed in this lifetime. And that's why you're sitting here now. You're listening to the Gita and getting blessed, right? You're getting blessed here, sitting in the Gita instead of suppressed and depressed. You're getting blessed, my dears, just being here, listening to Yogananda's commentary. How unique is that? And how rare is that? Right? Really. You got to know that you've got an angel or two, and of course, the guardians of the watchtower. The master's with you in every detail of your life. And of course, that includes the Divine Mother. All right. So that agent who is without egotism or attachment, listen to who you are, that deeper you version. Without egotism, without attachment, untouched by fulfillment or winning the lottery or unfulfillment, getting robbed and endowed with courage and zeal is called sattvic. So you live in that deeper version of you where it is, and this is for each of us to discover on our own, to discover the heaven within, to discover the presence within us as we go about the rest of our days in this earth life, my dears, right? Is to have the courage and the zeal to just know that this is a dream, delusion, duality that we're in, and it's not worth the time of day. I mean, Yogananda sometimes just goes off the records, and he just says it, so out there, like, don't mess with this world. There's no way that you can find happiness here. And he, in so many places he reminds us. So do the great ones. So we have those good teachers that remind us, don't get fooled, dears. Don't get fooled by anything. But let's enjoy a day off, shall we? Let's enjoy a day off in that deeper version. Could you spend some of your time today just musing? As Yogananda sat in a meditation once, and he says, "As I muse on thee." I made a song out of it. A thrilling, thrilling lightning spread, lightning, lightning, yeah, a thrilling lightning splash spreads from my soul to all cells of my body, saturating them with divine devotion. Yeah, you're sitting there just musing on God, and all of a sudden there's a lightning spray that just saturates every cell of his body with devotion, with devotion, saturates all his cells with this devotion for the God blessings, for the God energy, for the God presence. Yeah. So yeah, take a day off today, my dears, and just muse, and see what you can discover about the deeper you. Huh? It even rhymes. Just muse on God today. Sit still, I said yesterday in the street. Just sit still. Just sit still, be still, and muse and see what comes up. I mean, yeah. Well, here's what's going to come up. Here's some of his commentary to that quote of not having any egotism, no attachment, untouched by fulfillment or unfulfillment, and endowed with courage and zeal is called sattvic. So, this is the kind of thing that can happen from musing, my dears. As I muse on thee, a thrilling lightning spray spreads from my soul to all cells of my body, saturating them with divine devotion. Suddenly, my soul's secret door opens, and oh, what bliss I feel at the sight of thy light. Those are his words as he mused one day. Yeah, isn't that a beautiful thing? That's what maybe we came here to hear today, is that we have a timeout. We got a free ticket to just spend musing as I muse on thee, a thrilling lightning spray spreads from my soul to all cells of my body, saturating them with divine devotion. My soul suddenly opens the door, and oh, what bliss I feel at the sight of thy light. Okay, we're in Sattvicville now, my dears. Yogananda's commentary, page 1039. The characteristic expression of the three qualities, the sattvic, the rajas, and the tamas, in the agent or doer of actions is now described in stanzas 26 to 28. All right? 26 and 28. And this is verse 26. So, characteristics expression of the three qualities. You're going to hear more about sattva. You're going to hear more about rajas and tamas as we do actions. How they go about it and all those different influences is now described in these stanzas that we just shared. The one who is not has ego, no attachment, untouched by fulfillment, and not bugged by unfulfillment, and endowed with courage and zeal is called sattva. So Yogananda says, he and she whose mind is not identified, is not identified. And I'd like to kind of add the word, and stultified. Stultified, meaning that our mind is not so identified in the body bound ego that we completely paralyzed or stultified, if that's a word, right? And we're just kind of just numb, right? He whose mind is not identified with the body bound ego or tainted by attachment to objects of the senses, who patiently perform spiritual actions. That means patiently, if we could add, that we're done with such divine devotion, right? If all your cells are saturated with divine devotion, my dears, just musing on the divine, then I think that we can patiently perform spiritual actions of meditation and divinely motivated actions that help others on the path of salvation, disregarding success. So disregarding any expectations or outcomes or fruits of our labors, right? Disregarding success or failure, total non-attachment. Unexcited, by paltry. I used the word stultified a minute ago. Now Yogananda said that we're unexcited by paltry pleasures, right? Isn't it a trip in many regards to do this commentary, or otherwise I don't think you would be here, right, my dears? Isn't it something special? I mean, one of a kind, right? Of all the things that you've done in this life, this has got to be one of the unique, if not maybe, the most out there, but in the most beautiful way that you can imagine. So, yeah, right? That's why you guys get up at this early hour on Tuesdays on the East Coast. I mean, on the West Coast anyway. Disregarding your spiritual action, meditation, divinely motivated actions that help others on the path of path of salvation. Disregarding success or failure, whether you failed or you were successful. Unexcited by paltry pleasures and sorrows. So whether it's pleasure or sorrow, right? Yeah, pleasures or sorrow. He's got some nice song about that, right? Unexcited by paltry pleasures and sorrows. Acting only with the supreme desire of pleasing God. acting only with the supreme desire of pleasing God, my dears. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So that song that I just said, that I said a song, and it was this one. Um, oh, life is sweet and death a dream. Oh, life is sweet and death a dream. When thy song flows through me, my Lord, when thy song flows through me, then joy is sweet, sorrow a dream. And he goes through a whole list of those things. Yeah. So now he's talking about act only with the supreme desire of pleasing God. That man or woman is a sattvic yogi of the highest type. Do this. I do this for you. Search your heart, search your soul. And when you find me there, you'll search no more. Don't tell me it's not worth fighting for. So everything I do it for you. Remember that song from the Robin Hood with Costner? I think he did that version anyway. The following story aptly illustrates the state of such a yogi, that person or man or woman that is a sattvic yogi of the highest type. The following story aptly illustrates the state of such a yogi, and I think we have time to hear this story. In closing, I do believe a wise man was sitting calmly in contemplation, his consciousness intoxicated with the presence of God. In other words, he's musing, she's musing. She's musing on God as she sits still in the quiet of her patient meditation, right? So a wise person was sitting calmly in contemplation, her consciousness intoxicated with the presence of God. His wife came running to him and sobbed, our son just fell from the roof and died. And under where he comes up with his stories. Oh my God. His wife came running. So this guy's in almost bliss, right? And his wife comes running, sobbing to him and says, our son just fell from the roof and died. Oh, he said, sit in peace. Sit in peace. Her husband said quietly, and meditate upon God. Tell him, Lord, we thank thee for giving us the company of a noble son for 20 long years. In thy wisdom, thou knowest why it is now best to promote him to a better place, no longer feeding our selfish desires to keep him here. Even though we shall miss him, we bow to thine all-knowing wish. Shocked, his wife explained. What is wrong with you? Haven't you a tear for our dear son? After a little pause, the father replied, last night I dreamt that I was a king and that I had 3 sons who fell to their death from the palace roof when it collapsed during an earthquake. Now I am wondering whether I should weep for the lost palace and the 3 princesses of my dream, or if I should cry for our one son who has been taken away in this mysterious earthly dream of God's. I guess I guess when you have the knowing, when you have the consciousness, my dears, you know this life is a dream. And so, this is why Yogananda can throw stuff out there like this, right? We wouldn't even dare to have a reaction like that, probably, right? Anyway, he goes on to say, only a yogi of the highest God realization could, in truth, behave with such transcendent feeling. A lesser person feigning such spiritual aloofness would be acting in cruel and unfeeling hypocrisy. A truly wise man, woman is able to distinguish temporal, mortal dreams from temporal, mortal dreams. So if you're musing today, muse on this temporal, mortal dream from the eternal reality, my dears, and be utterly free from all attachment. That's just a muse that you are free like that, unattached to everything. That's such a thing. Disasters happening all the time. How are people dealing with it, right? So let's just muse. I think that's the most beautiful word to consider, especially if you ever found that poem, As I Muse on Thee, a thrilling lightning spray spreads from my soul to all cells of my body, saturating them with divine devotion. My soul's secret door suddenly opens, and oh, what bliss I feel at the sight of thy light. Okay, so we'll add that. Or you can, you know, in this temporal mortal dream, a wise woman and man is able to distinguish temporal mortal dreams. This one that we're in, this temporal mortal dream, from the eternal reality. Therefore, he is utterly free, Benny, utterly free from all attachment. Just said, do you have anything to lose by going there? And the deeper version of you that is like that, that is who we really are. We are divine beings with God in us. Emmanuel means God in me, God in me, God in you, God in everyone. Therefore, we can be utterly free from all attachment. This is the sattvic person. We are even-mindedly indifferent to both the reverses and successes that befall us, for we do not see ourselves as a doer. We perceive the Lord working through us in this world, and he who believes he owns any portion of this earth is seized. Anyone who believes he owns any portion of this earth is seized with the terrible grief when he loses that which he mistakenly thought was his own. Sattvic non-attachment and absence of egoity does not make a yogi apathetic. His inner state of God union rather gives him an imperturbability, imperturbable. His inner state of God union. This is us, dears. This is our sattvic showing up in real life. Yogananda's commentary, our inner state of God union gives us an imperturbable ability of fortitude and resolution and a zeal that is constantly enlivened by the perception of the hidden joy in all things. God is eternal laughter and a joyful heart is his smile. That's a quote from Yogananda. God is eternal laughter and a joyful heart is his smile. So we get to be enlivened in the perception of the hidden joy in all things. This is sattvic time, man. Dispassionate toward the happenings in God's dream, dispassionate. In all the happenings that's in the world right now, my dears, all of it. We are yet wholly compassionate towards those beings still struggling with the world's relativities. Yeah, that's a good ending for today, wouldn't you say? Wouldn't you say we've been on a ride? Oh, gee, we've been in the darkest things into the mediocre things to the most amazing things, and now all of us are just in a hidden joy in all things. Yeah. So that is that, my dears. We'll end there and we start up on verse 27 next week. And I think we're back on, yeah, it looks like we're going to go right into TAMAS again next week with verse 27. I told you we're going into that, and then probably we're going to go into Rajas, which is what we've been doing in this chapter 18 of the Bhagavad Gita. So the Gudas, as much as probably is really important to understand these energies that is affecting everything and everyone. All right, my dears. Much love to you. Thank you so much for coming online. I hope you enjoyed our session today, and 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 really will take advantage of the fact that their deeper self is free right now. Their deeper self is free, untainted by any of this crazy madness that's on the surface of life, and that's controlled. We're living under the influence of the three gunas, in other words, to say that. You're welcome, Mary. Thanks for coming on. We really have missed you, but we think of you. So missing is loving. So that's okay. It's okay. Much love to you and Alex and Ryan. Have a beautiful day. I'll probably see you on the next stream. And Lisa and Jim, probably for sure. We were traveling. Oh yeah, this is your time for traveling. You are so awesome. Just so awesome. Yeah. All right. Much love and light, my dears, and happy travels. Happy musing. Happy musing, my dears. Because you got to get saturated all your cells with this the divine devotion. I love those two words, divine devotion. Oh, yeah. All right. Love you. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Aho. Namaste. And blessings galore.